So tell me a little bit about the book, Mr. Pink.
Mr. Pink is about my brother Chaz's experience in a $12 million book heist that he and 3 of his friends were a part of in 2004. It really was quite a story, and it set the precedent for art theft cases in American case law. They had a black market buyer in Amsterdam. They had fake IDs, fake passports, fake license plates, everything set up pretty much like you'd see in a movie.
Is it true that you and your sister actually transcribed the book while your brother was serving in prison?
Yeah, that's true. It was about a 4.5-year process. My brother had some different requests to do magazines, like Vanity Fair came and offered him, Newsweek, some other things. Wanted to interview him about his story. And he'd already begun the process of writing this book, and we told him as a family that we really wanted him to continue with the book and keep the rights, and really there was an ongoing case still, so he didn't want to get out in the news very much, so that would go against him. But we finally got it done about his 5th year in the prison.
How did you first get the story Mr. Pink published?
Well, when we finished the manuscript, I'd actually, my stepbrother lives out in LA, and at this point we were trying to get a publisher and an agent. So I went ahead and booked a flight to LA, and I didn't really have anything set up. I was making phone calls, trying to get anybody that I knew with any connections in the industry to maybe get me a meeting set up to where I could get someone to help publish the book. And when I got out to LA, my 3rd day I was there, still hadn't heard of anything yet. And then finally I get a phone call in Venice Beach, and it was a assistant to the Vice President William Morris at the time, and actually a big connection from my mom. Hooked me up with about an hour-long meeting with the vice president of one of the biggest agencies, and it went really well. And she just told me, she was like, you have a great story, but the thing is, it's really competitive out here. You need to have something behind you, maybe self-publish in a smaller market and test and see how it does.
What made you decide to write the screenplay?
Actually, when I was going out to LA, we thought, we'd always wanted to write screenplays, and we'd actually had a few that we had started writing before we actually even thought about writing this one. My brother, at the time, it was really hard to get in touch with him, and writing back and forth was pretty much the only way that I could contact him was through mail. And at the time, he wanted to write the screenplay, but we didn't really have time to go back and forth like that. So I had all the book on my computer, on my documents and all that. So I went back and streamlined the whole story and took out the most visual parts of the story and the best dialogue and kind of fit it in there, and then fit some of my dialogue in there to kind of make it work. And the actual first script was written by me in about a month's time. I took about 7-8 hours a day and just worked on it.
So tell me a little bit about the process of actually getting the script sold.
It was actually through, we found an agent for the book, and then he actually had some connections, and he's a TV and media guy. So he actually had some connections with a production company out in LA who pretty much came to us, and we actually had an offer from a documentary company and a few other smaller companies come to us. But this one company came in, and we trusted them. They had a good rapport with my brother, and I actually went to go see Chaz in prison a couple times, and we ironed out a contract and got it to where we felt comfortable with giving them. We didn't have anything up front, so we felt comfortable that once it was got to production, that we would get something for our work and all that.
So the process of actually breaking into the industry was, how would you describe it?
It was really cool. Because the way it works is, the company has connections to talk with different actors and directors and distributors, so you get a real cool inside look at how everything in the industry works, because most people don't get in contact or are able to speak with these actors and also and anybody in the industry, because it's very close-knit.
How do you develop a script from the initial idea?
We did a lot of studying. We did a lot of Sid Field, Robert McKee, just learning the foundations of screenwriting is the biggest concept that you have to get into, because it's completely different than a book or anything like that, or even a play. It's just, you have to get into the structure and figure out why movies work the way they do and why they write certain things at certain times. And really we learned and studied, and we wrote a lot, and we had a story to start with, so that was easy. We had the book as an outline for a first story, which was really a benefit to us, and really we just structured it in the way that we thought it would look the best.
In a dream case scenario, how would you get the movie made, and who would be your ideal cast?
We would get funding from a very rich benefactor, and then we would get the distribution and have a production company come in. One of the bigger studios would be awesome, just to be able to watch them work and see how their business actually takes over and does things. Cast, it's Mr. Pink. Reservoir Dogs is an homage to Reservoir Dogs, so we'd love to see Quentin Tarantino be the director. I'd love to see what he would do with the film. Cast, there's a lot of great young characters and actors these days, and it's got 4 19-year-old kids playing the roles, so you could have any number of the young up-and-coming stars being in there. I'd really just like to see Dave Franco, James Franco's little brother. He would be an excellent guy to have in the movie. Other than that, it'd be an ensemble cast because it's heavily laid on those 4 characters.
How close is the script to the book?
The first outline was very close to it, but since we've progressed through different versions, we've actually kind of turned more towards the action of it and more towards the heist. And because that's ultimately on film, that's going to be the main, thing that happens, is going to be the heist. It could be a character piece where we develop, my brother's character from a nice college kid to a criminal, but it just kind of depends on what the director wants eventually and what we kind of finalize on.
All right, well, thank you so much for sitting down with us today. This is awesome to hear.
Thank you guys, appreciate it.